We had an exciting day or rather an exciting weekend of NBA action. We saw Kevin Durant put up 50 points. We saw LeBron James put up 50 points. We had a game where Steph Curry took like 7 shots, and still the Warriors beat the Bucks by 20 points. So lots of stuff to talk about. Let's get started. Before we even get started about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets or LeBron James, I want to look back at this playing tournament, right? And what is making this league so exciting right now.
Yeah.
This is the time where teams shut down and nobody really cares about it. It's about playing for the seeding. Some teams are interested in that. Some teams don't care, and they just take whatever seed they get and then they move on, right? Especially if you're the sixth, seventh, eighth, and you're not really looking to get the home advantage.
Yeah.
But this season, you can see the teams that like the Washington Wizards, they still have hope of finishing 10th. They don't have any hope of finishing 8th, but they have hope of finishing 10th. You see the Cavs really struggling to hold on to that 6th spot because that 6th spot becomes so important. You don't want to play in the plane and then face that unpredictability. So you're trying to finish with the 6th spot. Sacramento Kings still have hope because they're still in 12th spot and far away, but still have hope.
Yeah.
And you can see them hustling every game just because they have this opportunity to finish in 10. These are the teams that would have shut down, like the Kings, the Wizards. All of these teams would have shut down in the earlier seasons, but now because of playing tournament,
it's working.
It's working. Yeah, there is something to play for. There's no tanking.
Yeah.
I mean, the concept of tanking gets the probability of tanking gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
You can see teams like Portland Trailblazers, even though they're 11, they just don't want to win and qualify because it does them no good. But I like the thing. I like the playing concept. It's helping out the teams. It's helping out the fans even because some games are still exciting. But that being said and done, we have a solid top 10 now. There have been no ins and outs of this top 10 from the last few weeks at least. You think we have our 20 teams that are going to make the playoffs in the play-ins?
I think in the East we do. I'm looking at the West, and I think the order would shuffle, but I think we've got a lock on the teams. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No chance that the Sacramento Kings make a jump. No chance that the Wizards make a jump. Knicks have been on a tear lately, but they lost yesterday.
I don't see it. I don't see it from any of those teams. I mean, Portland were closest, right? And them, they themselves, I don't know if I'm sure of them making it through. Mostly because the Pelicans picked up. I don't think it's a reflection on how Portland are playing. I think Simons has been great, and they've been okay. They've been okay-ish. But I think the Pelicans have picked up, and that kind of distances them from the Spurs and the Trailblazers.
Yeah. Yep.
With Zion in the offing, I don't know, maybe they know something we don't because they're saying he's close to getting back on the court. Normally I'd be cynical about this, but hey, if the team's saying it, they've usually been overcautious about the guy. So if they're saying it, then there must be something.
Yeah. Plus he's seen nowadays. He's coming to the games. He's watching the games, which was not the case earlier. So
clearly the feedback helped, including and especially that he didn't call McCollum when he was traded in. I think he's now he's on a charm offensive of sorts. A subtle one, but it's there. He's more visible and all of that. Yeah, so that's kind of why I don't think the Pelicans would be toppled. The only way the Western play-in situation gets shaken up is if the Lakers just decide to suck even more and drop out of the top 10, but highly unlikely.
We have to talk about the 8th seed in the East. We don't spend so much time talking about such low seeds, but the 8th seed in the East are a problem. In the last week, the Brooklyn Nets, they had a Kyrie Irving 50-point game. They had a Kevin Durant 50-point game. And they beat the Philadelphia by 30, 35, something like that. At least it felt like that. They killed them, literally walked all over them. Now, this is a team that everyone wants to avoid. At this moment, do you think not getting the top seed or the second seed, because the Nets can as well finish 7th, is a better option? And being third is probably the best option in the East.
Why would you say that though? Who are they trying to avoid?
Well, no, Brooklyn are not avoiding anyone, but Miami, Philadelphia, they don't want to face Brooklyn.
For them, sure. No, but I don't know. See, if you are Philadelphia, at some point it's almost inevitable that you have to take down the Nets. Wouldn't you rather it be sooner than later, given you don't want them to get a full head of steam with Kyrie. You wouldn't want them to, who knows, maybe the restrictions are in your favor. They haven't been lifted yet. What if they're lifted midway through or after the first round? Not that I think the playoff timelines have anything to do with the restrictions. I hope not. But if they would factor all this. And if I were the Philadelphia 76ers, I think I'm looking at the chip this season, which means entirely likely that I have to beat one of the Bucks or the Nets at some point this season, maybe even both. I don't know, depending on where the chips line up. I'd want to face the Nets as early as possible before they get set in with Simmons, before they get set in with Kyrie, and that whole thing becomes a problem.
Has there been a more dangerous eighth seed until now? Because this is a team that has KD and Kyrie.
Yeah.
Seth Curry is hitting form. They've kind of replaced the loss of Joe Harris with Seth Curry, and probably even better player in Seth Curry. They got rebounder Drummond.
Yeah.
And Ben Simmons is yet to walk into this lineup. That is scary. That's a scary looking unit.
Patty Mills, that's not...
the backup now. Patty Mills, Goran Dragic bringing the experience. Then you have hustlers like Bruce Brown, James Johnson. All of these guys can contribute.
It's a good bunch. It's a good bunch. It's not a very deep squad, I must say. But now with what they got in exchange for Harden, they're probably slightly stronger. Because, sure, you lose Harden. But what you get is some of that squad depth that you gave up in trying to acquire Harden in the first place. You let go of a bunch of young talent. You don't get that caliber talent back, but you get enough players to beef up the roster a little bit because it looked way for thin at one point. And then you get Ben Simmons, who hopefully, if it works out, can be the elite defender that you need him to be because you don't need him to be much else in the playoffs, right? So interesting scenes there. I don't think there has ever been a more powerful eighth seed by a long shot. I'm trying to recollect if there's any team that got ravaged by injuries but then later came back to do well. I don't think so. I mean, there may have been teams that didn't belong in the eighth spot that became the eighth seed, but not to go on and achieve anything that season. I can't remember at least anyone. They continue to be injury hit or whatever.
Yeah. If you're Philly, would you be worried that now 2 games now, James Harden has struggled, 3 of 17 against the Nets, and then yesterday against the Magic, he and Embiid both struggled. They went 14 out of 47. But they got 20 out of 32 free throws though. Now, would you consider this as 2 regular season games? It could go either way, or this is the James Harden that we know from the playoffs who never really turns up in big games. Would you be worried if you're a Philadelphia fan? Did we make a mistake here? Are you already looking at that angle?
No.
And when you look at this roster, they suddenly lost depth. Now, when Embiid and Harden are resting, you have nobody to turn up to. There's no Seth Curry getting you those points still. There's no Drummond getting you those rebounds in Embiid's absence. They don't have a bite. Their backup big now is DeAndre Jordan, who is, I don't know if he's even good enough to be on any team at the moment.
No, I didn't overreact to the first couple of games from James Harden, and so I won't overreact to these. I think these are still all within the first 10 games he's played for the franchise. It's not like it's the end of the world. It is a new franchise. However much of a superstar you are, it's a new system, new coach, new offense, new franchise, new mindset maybe. James Harden usually goes into each arena thinking he's going to be a ball hog. We saw for the first time in Brooklyn that he was actually willing to settle in and be the ultimate team player. He did that exceptionally well in season 1. And then season 2 was actually the good old James Harden throwing tantrums, tanking games and all that nonsense. So no, it's 2 games. It's whatever. I mean, Westbrook's had a whole season. He's still making $45 million. So I wouldn't really, James Harden for me, it doesn't matter what he does in the regular season. The only thing he has to prove, nobody is questioning what he can do in the regular season. The only thing he has to prove is can he carry a team to the finals in the playoffs?
Yeah, the history of not turning up in big games, right? Yeah. So, that's the angle I was looking at. The Sixers fans, you gave up a guy who does not shoot in crunch moments at all for a guy who shoots garbage in big moments like these.
Yeah, well, I don't know. So he has had plenty of games where he has shown up. I think he gets the raw end of the stick sometimes on this, but I think it's safe enough to say that there have been better leaders of teams in crunch moments and in big time series than James Harden. And some of that leadership has to do with knowing how to get the team involved and knowing how to get everyone going, knowing that you alone is not going to be enough to take down the other guys. I think his judgment has come up short, and that's the big criticism against Harden. If his shooting goes off here and there, you know how good it is when it does work. So there's no harm in hoping that the older, more experienced James Harden can get it done, or just through free throws he can just carry you through to the next round. So I don't think Philadelphia should be disappointed. I think with Ben Simmons, forget the play style, forget the skill, it was over. Like that was a complete breakdown of relationship. Organization and player and fans, It was done. There was nothing good that was going to come of stretching that. Everyone was saying sell early, including me, but I think they did well to trade late and get a good haul for them. And that's where the experience of a great GM shows that he said there's always going to be some team that's going to get desperate at some point, and I want to be there when that happens with Ben Simmons. It was, but I won't regret the deal at all.
True. When you look at the other contenders in the East, a couple of weeks back we said the Bucks, don't know what's happening with them. They've been losing, and then they put out 6 consecutive wins, and they look like the Bucks of the old. Brook Lopez returns to the lineup today, so it'll be interesting to see how fit he is and how he can integrate well into this lineup. The lineup that he's already played multiple years in, so it won't be too hard to integrate him. But his level of fitness is something that that'll be interesting to watch to see if he's at that level of fitness where he could go on and play an NBA Finals and win it. So we'll see if Brook Lopez can integrate. Yeah, but the Bucks are back. Do you agree with that statement? I mean, 6 wins in a row, they're still back as the favorites, coinciding with Philadelphia's fall as well in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've always been steadfast on the Bucks being my overall NBA favorites this season. So it's a relief to me that they're starting to play like it again, because I had to question my judgment after one point. Especially when they started losing games with everyone there. By everyone, I mean, okay, Brook Lopez was out, but the big three, they were there, and then they dropped a couple of games here and there and didn't look very convincing. It wasn't even like, one shot and it could have gone the other way. Those matches kind of made me question my judgment, but it's the Bucks. It's the Bucks that we've known them to be, and now that everyone's firing, they seem to be formidable again, especially on defense, where in the middle, it didn't look like that all-consuming Milwaukee intensity on defense that was sort of missing. With Brook Lopez, I think it's great news that he's back. And if I were the Milwaukee coaching unit, the only thing I'd be thinking about is how do we ease him in as best we can to get him in the best shape possible for the playoffs. Nothing else matters. Regular season doesn't really hinge on his availability. In the playoffs, he's not make or break, but his presence, could be of critical importance in several important series.
Absolutely. We spoke about 3 contenders, the Nets, the Sixers, and the Bucks. There's still the Miami Heat. There's still the Boston Celtics, who are probable contenders given the way they're playing, the most informed team. Miami Heat, the top team in the conference. Is this the closest the East have been in a long, long time? 5 teams that could go on and win. I'm excluding the Bulls from this because I don't think they can win. They'll be an exciting team, but I don't think they can win. But the Heat, they're top. You have to put them in that bracket. Celtics, the most informed team, the best defense by a distance. You got to put them in the conversation. So is this the closest the East has been in a long time? 5 teams that can go on all the way?
I don't think so, because the East have had 5 teams before that were all pretty formidable. And barring the few years where LeBron just made it entirely one-sided, where it didn't matter who he faced, he was going to win. Except for those few years, the East was quite well contested before. Whether it was stronger than the West or not was the only debate. But with whatever they had, were they competitive? Sure. And when we say go on to win the league, I'm assuming you're not just saying win the East, right? You're saying win the league, which means you're saying, I don't think they can. I don't think these 5 teams can. First of all, I would question if they can win the East all 5. But win the league, a bunch of these would come up short against Phoenix or the Warriors. I don't think they have what it takes, right? So for me, against the Warriors, I don't even think Philly can get it done. It has to be the Nets or the Bucks. These are the only 2 teams that, if they play to their absolute best, can take down the Warriors. Suns too, I think, is the same challenge, although Philly could make a close series against the Suns. So for me, just looking at the East also, right? Miami and Boston, both to varying degrees, have the one problem that could be an Achilles heel in the East, which is they don't have a formidable big man. And I know they have Bam. I know Miami has Bam. But there is a size mismatch there, which Anthony Davis kind of exposed in the bubble season, and which once or twice since then also has been exposed. That as good as Bam is, as phenomenal as he is both ends of the court, there is a size mismatch there if you have the right guy to exploit it. And those right guys are few and far between. It's not like the league's full of them. Unfortunately for Miami, the East has more than one of them. So if they're facing Philly, Embiid's a problem. I don't think Bam can really shut out Embiid. I don't think he can shut out Giannis either. Giannis has figured out how to get past these wall formula defenses, and he doesn't give a fuck anymore what wall they put in front of him. And he has the team to pass it to. If the wall really is that good, he now has Giroux and Middleton, and he's learned to rely more on his, I must say, excellent passing game. For his size, that's just unreal how well he passes and his court vision. So for that reason, Miami, very tough. Boston, forget about it. If they run into Philadelphia or the Bucks because of that big man situation, because you're going to give up so much deficit there. It's not just points. It's not those once in a while second chance opportunities that they create from offensive rebounds. Your big loss is, it's kind of like in the loan giving business, right? With the bank, you always say you can't be in the credit business if you don't know how to collect your payments. If you can't get your money back, you just can't be in the business. And rebounds will crush you in the playoffs. Defensive too. If you can't get your defensive rebounds, that's going to be a big problem because you're going to give free opportunities to the other guy. All the effort you put into getting a good stop or forcing a bad shot is going to be wasted. The clock's going to get reset. You'll just get butchered on all fronts. So it's more than one problem when you have that big man mismatch. So I don't think Boston and Miami are going anywhere. I think the East is between the Sixers, the Nets, and the Bucks.
Okay. Before we even close down this episode, let's talk about the Lakers for a bit. We're not going to talk about all the teams in the West. We'll do that tomorrow. But LeBron James, the first player to get to 30,000 points, 10,000 rebounds, and 10,000 assists. 250-point games in the last 1 week. Now, the Lakers are going nowhere. They're 0-7 in games that LeBron has not scored 50 after the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Now, what is the point of LeBron playing anymore? Do you think the Lakers still have a chance that LeBron can single-handedly carry a team, beat a couple of playoff opponents, make the final, Western Conference final maybe not happening? Then is it better for the Lakers to shut down LeBron for the season, come back refreshed, rejuvenated next season, and then make a play when you have a fitter Anthony Davis, and then don't know who the rest of the roster is going to be, but fitter Anthony Davis and LeBron are still strong. So do you think that's the best option for the Lakers? Just give your younger guys or whoever is available a run and shut down LeBron, let him go chill out for the next few months, come back fitter, stronger, more rejuvenated, more motivated, and then you see what happens there.
Yeah, if Anthony Davis's injury was as that he's out for the season, maybe there's merit to what you're saying. Like what it was with the Warriors. Their nuclear was out for the season. Yeah. And they still went for it with Steph. They kind of just got him a few games. But then when he broke his hand, and that seemed a few months at least, they're like, okay, by the time you come back, it's more than half the season gone. There's no point. Let's just, let's just chuck it and then pick it up next season with Clay back. And in the meantime, train our young guys. And they did that very well. And it worked. Now, if AD's injury was similar and season ending, sure. But as long as there's hope that AD can come back in whatever form before the playoffs, and usually he comes back in good form. It's just how long does that last is the problem, or how long does he last is the question. But if AD can come back, then this team's a problem. I think everyone would agree with LeBron and AD back. Whatever form Russell Westbrook is in, this team's a headache to deal with, especially in the playoffs with their unique abilities and their experience. So they've got no business throwing in the towel just as yet. I think they should just keep going. The real question is, should they bench Westbrook, not LeBron? Is there something to be gained there? I think it's worth a shot. I think for a few games, because they've tried every permutation possible. The record's no better in any of them. He's not playing better in any of them. He just can't seem to play the role that they need him to play for some reason. And if it's going to take, Westbrook had 5 points or 8, was it, in that Wizards game where LeBron? It's not helping anywhere. Those points can be picked up by pretty much anyone under the sun. Does he offer anything else? Rebounds, he's not the triple-double monster he used to be. He does nothing on defense. I struggle to see why somebody off the bench can't replicate this kind of production. So maybe it's worth a shot for a few games at the very least. So I
agree. I think Westbrook will be better with a weaker unit playing around him. He's one of those guys. You put him in OKC, he'll do better, right? So it's like
correct. Yeah.
Put him with a weaker bunch, he'll be the Westbrook you want him to be. So
the Lakers should go for it. Plus, also, what do they get from tanking anyway? Even if they
don't have
apart
picks,
from they have nothing. They have nothing to look forward to. It's not like they have one or two players who, like the Warriors had a bunch last season, who look like give them some play time, and by next season they'll be ready to support.
You saw that with Jordan Poole this year.
Correct. Wiggins also they had. I think they put in some good time to improve Wiggins and fit him in. So they have all of that going. What the hell do the Lakers have? Stanley Johnson, Reeves, like, what the fuck? You can develop them all you want. And they're good players, but they're a good 2-3 years away from getting to the level that the Lakers would need them to be. And LeBron James is never interested in development projects. Plus, how does he get Kareem's record? So not happening.
We spoke about Brooklyn Nets being a dangerous 8 seed. Are Lakers the most dangerous 9 seed ever?
At this point, they're not the most dangerous anything ever, but they can be. They can be. This is the most upside any 9 seed has had getting into the playoffs. Let's just say that.
Agree. Totally agree. Well, that's all on today's episode. Fun games to look forward to today. The Nuggets play the Sixers. That's something that I'll be watching. Jokic versus Embiid. Draymond Green is back for the Warriors today.
Yeah.
They play the Wizards, and the Bucks versus Jazz, where the return of Brook Lopez. Bucks versus Jazz is always going to be exciting. So hope Rudy Gobert is fit. And
shout out to Trae Young for his 47 last night. Didn't get mentioned in our episode, but saved my sinking ship. That is my fantasy league. So thank you.
Absolutely,
Thank
four logo threes. So Trae Young is really
4 turnovers also. Fucking couldn't have saved one. At least one of those.
All right, then I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes.
Bye.